All right, this is another lesson in housing, and this time talking about what to look for in a house. So, let's first talk about the different types of housing that you could potentially buy. First one is a condo. So, this is like an apartment basically, usually in a big tower or something. Usually, this is going to be your cheapest option. These condos are usually in urban areas. With urban areas, there is good and bad. So it is noisier, it is busier, often transit nearby. So it could be SkyTrain or whatever. There could be more traffic, but it also could be closer to major roads. There's very often there's shops around, shops and restaurants and stuff. And urban areas can have more crime as well. With condos, obviously you have neighbors, so there'll probably be people on either side of you, and potentially people above you and below you potentially. Condos can be have less space, and so space in real estate is measured by square footage, and depending on how big your condo is, I think you could say that your typical condo is smaller than a typical house, for example. Condos don't have outdoor space, or they might have like a little bit of outdoor space, but it has to be shared amongst all the people who live in the tower, which could be like, 400 or 500 families. Condos often have some kind of room on the first or second floor. Sometimes it's called a common room or an amenities room or a party room. And so, usually, for example, you could reserve that room for parties or something like that. Parking your car, this can be a challenge in a condo. Some condos come with a parking spot. In other ones, you have to like rent the parking spot. Some don't have that option at all, so then you'll have to find somewhere to park, whether it's on the street or find another garage to rent. Some condos have an exercise room, so that can be really useful. You don't have to pay for a gym membership, for example. Obviously, condos, some of them are high up, so you could have a nice view, or sometimes the view is just of another condo, so it all depends, I suppose. With condos, there is also a strata, and so the strata is basically a group of people who run the condo. So any decisions that have to be made about the condo are made by this group. And if you are an owner in the condo, you are welcome to join that strata council. I would say most people don't bother to join the strata council because they don't want to go to the once a month meeting. But then they complain when the strata makes some decision about something and they didn't like it. So if you want to complain, then you should join the council just to make sure that your voice is heard. The strata will charge fees, and those fees usually cover the maintenance of common areas as well as the exterior of the building. So that could be anything from cleaning windows to replacing the main water pipes that go through, or the heating systems, the boilers in the basement. It could be, I don't know, cleaning the hallways, repairing the elevator. So all those things cost money. Someone has to organize those things. So that is done by the strata, or sometimes the strata appoints a person to do that, or a company. This is called the property management company, and so they will hire a person to do things like that. And the salary for those people and the fees for those services will come out of your strata fees. Other things that are for your strata fees include landscaping, so any outdoor spaces need to be maintained, and also insurance. So insurance on condos is pretty high, at least the condo insurance, not your personal insurance, but the condo that the strata pays is pretty high. And so altogether, I think around 200 on the low end to 500 or even more per month that you need to pay the strata council to deal with all these things. That's not even That's not even including the repairs to your own personal unit. If you know your toilet breaks or your bathtub is leaking, you have to deal with that on your own. Don't forget also in condos, if your say bathtub is leaking, that may potentially affect people around you. You know, so if you have a flood in your bathroom or something, all that water most likely is going down into the unit below you, and so they're going to have a bunch of damages that they're going to come after you because it was your bathtub that was leaking. And in like worst case scenarios, you know your bathroom floods and it goes down to the suite below you, but then because theirs is also flooded from your water, then the suite below them gets affected too, and so your one leak you might be paying for like five people's different repairs or something. So another thing to be kind of cognizant of when you are a owner of a condo. Another type of housing is called a townhouse, also called semi-detached. So this is probably the second cheapest option. So a townhouse is a kind of structure where it might be a whole block, and there might be like houses that are literally connected, but they each have their own separate like exterior entrance. So you can walk from the street and go into your own unit. You don't have to go through an elevator. You don't have to go through a hallway. You can go right from the outside into your place. So sometimes, as I said, those can like be right next to each other, one by one, and if that's the case, often they'll be quite narrow. They might be a few different floors, but on each floor you might only have a couple rooms or something. So I think I've seen this design a lot where it's the entire townhouse, your entire house may have like 4 or 5 floors, and then each floor, like one floor is just the kitchen and a little den, and another floor is 2 bedrooms, and another floor is another 2 bedrooms or something. So basically you're always going up and down stairs, which some people don't like, as opposed to like a condo, which is almost always just no stairs. It's just all one floor, right? There's other kind of townhouses which are not like that, but they may be like one unit on top and one unit on the bottom. So in that case, you might have noise coming from the up and down kind of person above or person below you. So something to be aware of, I guess. Usually there is a small outdoor area. You have your own little patch of yard or something. And the strata fee may be lower, so because you don't have an entire building to take care of, and hallways and stuff like that. So you might be looking at $100 to $200 for strata fee, something like that. But then of course more of those costs come to you as the homeowner, whereas with a condo, the strata would be taking care of a lot of the maintenance stuff. Now you have more responsibility for the maintenance stuff. A duplex is similar to a townhouse, except that it's only 2 houses that are connected to each other, not like an entire block. Otherwise, pretty similar, I think. And then finally, we get to our detached house. So detached house is a house that is kind of freestanding, not connected to anyone. You're not sharing any walls with anyone. There's no strata, there's just you. Usually, as I said, the detached houses are bigger. You're responsible for all your own maintenance. If the roof leaks, you have to fix it. If the basement leaks, you have to fix it. Everything is up to you. And of course, this is the most expensive option. You also would potentially have like backyard and stuff if that's important to you. Okay, now that we know what the different types are, so just to review, we have condo, we have townhouse, we have duplex, we have house or detached house. Let's now look at how you might choose where to go. So first thing when you're deciding or choosing where to go is you need to choose where where are you going to be? Choose your country. Are you going to live in Canada or another country? Choose your province. Are you going to go BC? Are you going to Ontario, Newfoundland? Where? And then you got to choose your city. So again, it's like Vancouver or Burnaby or Richmond or Prince George or Terrace, wherever you want. And then you have to also decide on your neighborhood, right? Whether that's East Van or, Mount Pleasant or kind of Grandview kind of area. So lots of different neighborhoods as well that you could choose. You have to look at the character of your neighborhood. Well, I mean, not important to everyone perhaps, but certainly important to a lot of people. Like, I really like the feel of this neighborhood, and that can be determined by lots of different things. The types of houses there, the type of people there, the type of shops there, right? So the character of, like, say, for example, Kitsilano is very different from the character of, say, Nanaimo Sunrise kind of neighborhood, right? Distance from amenities, and so we're talking about shops, malls, restaurants, things like that. So maybe you want to be close to those things, you'd be able to walk to those things, or maybe you don't care, right? Distance from your work or school, so that's going to be specific to you and also might change over time. But yeah, you might say, I want to be able to walk to work or whatever it is. Distance from major roads or transit. Right, so you have to be able to get around, whether you're on transit or in a car. So your proximity to those things will kind of affect how effectively you're able to get around. What are the schools in the area? So you may not have. Okay, so when you're buying a place, you may not have kids, but you have to. You have to think that, okay, I'm buying this place and I might be here for 5, 6, 10, 15 years. And so you have to kind of think ahead to what things might look like in the future. And so that's why schools might be relevant. Although, here in BC, I would say that all public schools are pretty good. So no, not a huge worry. How is crime? So obviously some areas have a higher rate of crime than others. How walkable is it? I think we already mentioned, like, are you able to walk to shops and restaurants and stuff? Distance from your friends or your family, or what I said, the action, but some people, they like to be close to downtown so that they can go out on a Friday night or whatever. Yeah, or some people might want to be close to, Mount Cypress, so they can go skiing easily. So things like that. And then noise, of course. Some places are noisy, like if you buy a house right on Broadway there, lots of cars going by, trucks, it's going to be noisy. Whereas if you're in like the inner neighborhoods, then it'll be much more quiet. Size. Okay, so how much space do you need? So I mentioned that real estate is measured in terms of space, is measured by square footage. And so, a typical bedroom might be something like 100 square feet. A typical kitchen might be 200 or so, maybe 300 square feet. So altogether, say one bedroom apartment might be something like 700 to 800 square feet or something. It varies a lot, obviously, of course. Like, say, a Vancouver special house. Usually those are 2,400 or 2,500 square feet, including both the first and second floor. So that just gives you an idea. So, say Vancouver special, just the upstairs, 3 bedrooms, living room, kitchen, 1 to 2 bathrooms. That's probably going to be around over 1,000 square feet, probably 1,200 square feet or something like that. So how much actual space do you need? That's going to be a pretty big determining factor as to how expensive the place is. And then so I said how many bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchens, a suite for guests or rentals. So do you want to have a separate apartment or something that you can rent out? So that's going to help you with your mortgage. Or do you want to have something that you can have your friends come and stay in or whatever? How big are the rooms? So older places tend to have smaller bedrooms. And interestingly enough, really newer places also sometimes have smaller bedrooms. So yeah, if depending on how, if you care how big your bedroom is, so that's something to look for. How is the layout, right? So some people like, kind of what they call open concept, where the kitchen and living room is basically one giant room, and you just put, furniture there to kind of differentiate the different areas. Some people don't like that. They want something that's more compartmentalized. It all depends on what you prefer. Is there a yard or garden, garage, patio, deck? So all those things may be important to you, or they may not. So it's up to you. The lot size. So the lot size is the size of not the house, but the size of the land. So obviously it doesn't apply for condos, but if you're buying a detached house, the typical Vancouver lot size is 33 feet by 120 feet. So 33 feet kind of along the road and 120 feet deep. So that's kind of the standard, but there's like lots could be smaller or bigger than that. So again, something to consider, and it will be important to some people, but less important to other people. What about the state of the house? So how old is the house? Is this a 100-year-old house, or is it a brand new house? So obviously that's going to have an impact on how much maintenance is needed on those 100-year-old houses. Yeah, you might need to be fixing stuff like all the time. What kind of heating system does it have? So, you have gas, natural gas heating, you have radiant floor heating, you have heat pump heating. So there's different types of heating system. How well is it insulated? How well is it ventilated? So those are things to kind of look into. Any signs of mold or water damage or anything like that? Does it flood all the time in the basement? Because if it does, that's going to be a problem, right? And if you buy it, that's going to be your problem. Yeah, like signs of mold in the walls. It's not uncommon in, Vancouver. It's a pretty rainy city after all. But again, like that can be a problem, and if you buy it, it's your problem. Cracks in the foundation. So I'm not an engineer, I can't say for sure, but yeah. So you would want to get an engineer or someone qualified to take a look at any kind of cracks like that, and see if they're going to cause a bigger problem down the road. And then finally, the money. How much is that house? What's the price? Not only that, but what are the property taxes? So every year, you have to pay your property tax. And how much is that going to be? So it could be like 3,000, could be 5,000, could be 7,000. What about strata fees, right? Only for condos, as I said, but yeah, that could be another 500 a month or whatever it is. So all these different money considerations that you have to consider, not just like the final price, but some of these other factors as well. All right, so that's all for how you go about choosing a place. And so that's all for this lesson. See you in the next one.